Hello, I'm Dennis with doityourselfdennis.com. In this video I'm going to show you how to replace a rotten sill plate that's on top of your foundation. It's the board that goes horizontal that sits directly on top of the foundation wall. We're going to start out with cutting this subfloor up. You can't always do that. You might have to do everything from underneath, but in this case the subfloor is exposed. So we're going to go ahead and cut up a section of the subfloor. You can see where we've already cut part of this up inside this closet. So what we're going to start out with is we're going to measure 3 inches off of the wall and chalk a line all the way across to the other end. And then we're going to just take out the whole, we're going to cut it at a seam. When you cut this floor, you're going to want a couple of things you'll want to keep in mind is try to use an old saw blade, something that, because you're going to hit nails undoubtedly, and you're going to want to adjust your blade so that you're only cutting through the subfloor. So you can kind of guess at it. You don't have to be exact, but that's what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to adjust this plate so that you're only cutting through part of the subfloor. So let me go ahead and get this measured out and chalked, and then we'll go ahead and cut it. Okay, something I wanted to show you. A couple things you want to keep in mind is you want to go ahead and any staples that might be in the floor, go ahead and pull them out of your way. But we're not going to go all the way up into this corner. You're going to want to end on a joist. So you can look for, like on this one, they've got staples that are actually holding the floor down. So you can either look for nails or staples, and we found one, so we're going to take a nail just to find the edge of it. We're going to knock a nail through, and I've hit the joist there. And you're going to want to go try and find the edge. So you just, and you can feel the difference. It didn't hit a joist there, so we can work our way back towards the first one we did until you can tell it hits the joist. Yeah, still hitting the joist. Okay. I don't know if you noticed, but the nail kind of had a curve. So it tells me I hit the joist underneath. So we're going to go ahead and mark that there. We're going to make a little mark. And then I'm going to come in 1/2 inch. And that's where we're going to chalk our line or mark our line. And then we'll just go down over this edge and do the same thing again. And you're just going to keep hitting until you feel solid. We're hitting solid there. So we're not far off from that first one. Yep, there it is. Okay, so here's our edge, and then we're going to measure in 1/2 inch again. The reason I'm only measuring 1/2 inch is trying to avoid hitting some of the staples. But this one's right in line with the staple. So you can grab the chalk line and we'll go ahead and chalk this across through here. There. When you chalk a line, you pull a line straight up. Okay, so now we're ready to cut. So let me get that set up and we'll cut the floor. Okay, so this vent is sticking up, so we're just going to go ahead and take the nails out so that we can goes here. Usually I use roofing nails to Loosen it up and then pop the nail out. Wonderful. Got all kinds of nails in here. Okay, now the vents just drop down. We can put that back in later. Now we're ready to cut our floor. So you're just gonna okay. It's a good idea to go ahead and pull the nails or staples, whatever's holding the flooring down. You can take a pry bar and try and pry it all up and get it out that way. But I'm going to try and use some of this, reuse this floor, at least part of it. So if you go ahead and take the nails out, it just either way it makes it easier to get it out, and it's not that hard to do. What you want to use is get like a tiger paw, and what I'm doing is I just knock it underneath the staple, just pull the staple up. It really isn't that hard to do. Doesn't take that much time. You know, if it were like a number 8, you would, you know, knock it down on each side of the head and just pull the nail out. So let me finish taking these staples up, and then we'll take the floor up. Okay, so we're going to take a pry bar. We'll knock it down in there. Just lift it up some. See, now if you had left the nails in, we'd be fighting that to get that up. It's not a bad idea to wear a dust mask, so I'm going to lay this back down and put a dust mask on. But you get the idea. Just lift it up, and then we're going to pull that insulation back. Okay, let me show you what we're replacing. You see how rotten that seal plate is there. And over here, they've kind of jerry-rigged it all together. But you can see where it's all rotten. All right, there's a couple of different ways you can do this. Actually, there's probably several different ways, but I'm going to tell you 2 different ways we're going to do it, or how we're going to do it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jack using the bottle jack, I'm going to jack the ceiling up, which is going to take the weight off of the wall so that we can, because some of these joists are a little weak, so sometimes when you jack them up, it crushes the joist. So, and we're going to replace the joist as we go, but we can't jack the floor up in the condition that it's in and still get our new joists underneath. So we're going to take some of the pressure off with these taller 4x4s. What we're going to do is we're going to set these on a jack, and then have a cross member go across, and we're going to lift up 6 feet at a time. So but there's another way you can do this if you can't cut the floor out and you have to do it all from underneath. What you can do is you can take a 4x4 and try and lift it up, you know, put it underneath it and lift it up, you know, put it on the floor joist like that and lift it. But another way to do that, and probably a little better, instead of just using a 4x4, is to use a 2x8 or something wider than a 4x4, so it spreads the weight out a little bit, and then you put that underneath the joist and jack it up. Especially if your floor joists are kind of weak and you need to replace them too. I mean, they're not totally weak. I mean, they're not going to fall in or anything like that, but you know, sometimes when you lift them up, it crushes the bottom of them. So this is something you can do to prevent that, or to help raise it up. So let me get set up, and we're going to trade places. My wife is going to get underneath the house and jack the jack up, and we're going to videotape how I hold the stuff up high while she jacks it up. So let me get out of here. Okay, you ready? This is a little bit dangerous, but we've done this several times, so we kind of got the hang of it. You ready? She's going to support the long 4x4 on the jack down there.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
And I'm going to pick up this 4x4, get it underneath. All right, go ahead. What we're going to do, we're just going to snug it up so that we can still adjust it, because you want it to be, you know, straight up and down. Pretty good that way. Not too terrible bad that way. We're pretty good there. Yeah, it's pretty straight. Turn this end down here. Okay. All right, so that'll hold it up there for now, and then we'll get the other end in. So let me go ahead and do that. Hey. All right, so now we're going to put this other one in. She's down there, she's got the bottom. I've got the top.
Okay.
It doesn't look like it's sitting on the jack, like it needs to come towards you just a little bit.
The post? Or?
Yeah, the post.
It's
pretty even on both sides?
Even, yeah.
Okay, all right, well go ahead. Are you pretty straight up and down?
Go back towards, yeah, like there. Oh, no, like
Okay.
the bar.
Okay. All right, so she's just going to snug it up so that I can adjust a little bit if we need to, and then we're going to start jacking it up. Okay, I wanted to kind of show you what we've done underneath here. You see the jack there. And sometimes you might have to turn your boards the opposite direction, but it's just relieving the pressure off of the wall. And now, if you look up underneath here, you can see we have lifted the floor joist actually a little bit, enough that we can pull the plates out. I'll show you about that in just a second. Okay, so we've lifted the floor joist up enough that we can pull this stuff out. Just take a bucket, sweep the loose stuff into it. But you're just going to kind of clean that up, and then we're going to put the new plate on her. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and attach our floor joists. So we're going to just add a piece to this, and then we'll be able to get underneath with another jack and jack the whole, jack. We're going to jack up 3 or 4 floor joists at a time and raise it up, put the new sill plate in, set it down, move on to the next one. So let me get this cleaned out, and then I'll show you how we're going to do that. Alright, so what we're going to do next is I've cut a 4-foot piece. Sometimes I make them 4 feet, sometimes 5 feet. Sometimes I replace the whole joist. Depends on what kind of shape it's in. These joists aren't really in too bad a shape. They're just mostly rotten at the end, like back in here. So what I'm going to do is I've cut a 4-foot, and you always want to crown it. I always crown it just to make sure, which shows which way the board is bowing this direction. So I always like the crown to go up, so I go ahead and make a mark on it, even though I know. But then we're gonna get some liquid nail, and we're gonna put some glue on it. Some of this might be a little bit of an overkill, but that's just the way I do it. I like to make sure it's gonna stay on there, not go anywhere. Then we're going to take our piece on, and we're going to butt it up against the outer band. And we're going to add a new band in there also, but we're just going to hold it there for now. And then we're going to go ahead and get the nail in it. You want it to be even with the other joist at the top. But you got to hit the nail. Yeah, my nail's done bent. Let's try another one. Okay, so now we're going to put a nail at the other end. Even it up. Then I'm going to go back and I'm going to add more nails. I'm going to put two nails about every 8 inches. And then I'm going to come back after I get it all set, and I'm going to run bolts through it. I'm going to run a 5/16, 3/8 of an inch bolt in 2 places, just to make sure it stays there. It's probably a little bit of an overkill, like I say, but I just assume go ahead and do that. It doesn't cost that much money. So that's how I'm going to put these joists on, and then once we get these on, we're going to jack the floor up. So let me finish putting these on, and then we'll do that. Okay, so now we've added those pieces of joist on to give us some more little stable to jack to. So now we're going to jack up 3 of them at a time. So I've got my jack set underneath here. And then we're going to take another 4x4. We're going to jack the floor up now. Helps if you tighten up your jack. You might want to just snug it up, kind of look at it, see how level it is or how plumb it is, straight up or down. Pretty good there. So we're ready to start jacking the floor up. Just kind of watch this. If it gets cocking too much, you'll need to change it. On several of these down through here, we've had to actually jack off of the footer because the ground was too soft and it just kept on falling over and tilting over. But the problem with jacking it off of the footer is it doesn't give you much room to do what you need to do up there as far as replacing your seal plate. So if you can get away from it a little bit, you're probably a little better off. See, it's starting to turn. So we're going to let it down, and I might end up having to jack it off of this footer. Okay, so we've got our jack underneath there. I know it's a little bit crooked, but I think it's going to hold. You just want to be careful of it that it doesn't kick out. It usually does it pretty slow, so but you want to jack it up enough that you can get your seal plate back up underneath there. So now we're going to clean off the seal, the top of the foundation, and then we'll put our seal plate in there. Okay, we've got it all jacked up and we're ready to put and cleaned off. We're ready to put our seal plate in. And you want to use pressure treated seal plate. Code nowadays is pressure treated, and it would prevent a lot of this rot. So you're going to put pressure treated in. And we're a little tight right there, but I think we can get it in there. And you're only going to be able to do so much at a time. You can't replace all of it. So we've got a little piece about 4.5 feet long here we've got in. So we've got our sill plate in. So now we're ready to set our jacks back down. Okay. So now we're ready to move on to the next one. So we'll add some more joists to these, and then we'll jack them up. Can you see me? Yes? Okay. A couple of things. When you're putting these joists in, or when you're jacking the sill up, you might have to cut part of the old joist off. These being older wood, they're somewhat a little bit wider than the new wood. I was having a hard time getting the one in, and so I had to notch the bottom of the joist off even with the new one, so that it would sit right, and then it would sit right with the rest of them. There was just one of them, but that's something you want to keep in mind. Another thing is you might have to turn your jack in different directions. Just try different things before you nail these joists on. You want to make sure you get any of the staples or nails that might be sticking through the plywood, you know, from the top down or underneath where they had the insulation stapled. Some of those staples were sticking underneath, so you want to make sure you take those out, otherwise you won't be able to get it up even. But we're ready to show you how to take this jack down. We've got all this sill plate replaced all the way up to here. So we're ready to take these jacks down. So I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. Okay. I'm going to let this one down first, and my wife's going to grab it. Just keep in mind the one jack on the other side is what's holding the horizontal beam up. We'll just set that down, and then she's going to we're going to trade spots. And she's going to let that loose and hold on to the vertical 4x4. I'm ready when you are.
Okay.
Okay, so that's all there is to setting those jacks down. Okay, in this area here, the sill plate's really not in too bad a shape. I mean, it's rotten, it needs to be replaced. But I'm not going to jack up the wall. I'm just going to jack up the floor joists and see if we can change it out without having to jack the wall up. So let me get things set up and we'll see what we can do. Okay, this is how I set up my jacks. You can see the jacks here. And we've got my 4x4. And you can see where I took the 2x8s, some pieces of 2x8, to spread out the weight on the 4x4. I laid them on top of the 4x4 underneath the joist. Kind of spreads out the pressure so it doesn't 4x4 doesn't go up pressed into the joist. Alright, we've got our floor joist jacked up, so we're ready to take the sill plate out. I think this one might actually be nailed in there some. If you have a sill plate that's nailed, there's actually a nail right here. You can take a reciprocating saw with a metal blade on it and cut it out, but this joist is so rotten. I can probably tear it out. And I'll cut my nail off before I put the new seal plate in. So you're gonna take and clean off your seal plate or your top of your block. It's really not good for all that scrap wood to be underneath the house. You try to, you know, you're not going to get it all, but you know, it's not a bad idea to sweep it off. It just attracts termites more if you have that wood underneath the house. So I'm going to take and clean that out the rest of the way down, and I'll show you when I put my seal plate back underneath. Okay, we're going to go ahead and jack the floor up. I get a little piece of scrap so I can check to see if it'll fit. Just barely missing from up here. So we're just going to jack it up a little bit. We've got our new floor joist on. Just stiffen it up some. Okay, so this end will fit. Now we're going to go down this other end. Jack it up. Okay, so we're fitting on that. I know you probably can't see it because of this beam, but it's fitting now. So now we're ready to put our seal back in. All right, we've got our floor jacked up and we're ready to put our seal plate in. So we're gonna take our new seal plate, slide it up underneath there. And at the other end, we've got the seal plate coming from this direction, so we've got to put, they kind of go behind each other, or this one goes behind that one. So I've got to get down and knock it in, and then we're going to force it that direction to get in behind. Okay, we've still got a little piece we've got to put in here, but once we get that piece in, we're ready to set the floor back down and take the jacks out, and that's pretty much all there is to replacing the seal plate. Okay, I wanted to explain to you why we have this little piece missing. The reason that is because I had to get up behind that other seal plate that's on the opposite wall. So you need to kind of keep that in mind when you're doing this kind of work. So we can slide that back in there, and then we've got a piece that's going to just slide right in. And now we're ready to lower our floor. Okay, so that's all there is to replacing the seal plate on a house. Check out my other videos at doityourselfdennis.com. Thank you for watching.